Tyrrell Snitzel is going to take the checkered flag and the Canadian Grand Prix victory just ahead of Michael. His 6th victory from the first 7 races with a third of the season gone.
Apex Online Racing is sponsored by Elgato, who created this lovely Stream Deck. For more information about the Stream Deck, the link is in the description below.
Bonjour mon ami and welcome to Le Castellet for round 8 of the AOR F1 Championship Season 18, and we are here in beautiful France for the French Grand Prix as we enter the second third of the season. Starting here in France, we will go through the European heartlands of Formula 1 all the way to Italy before we head out to the Far East. I'm Mark Alimonda, and alongside me in the commentary box is none other than Andy Campbell, who will be making his way to the commentary box ever so shortly. So this track has not been used that often in Formula 1 over the history of the sport. In fact, we only came back racing here in 2018 after a long absence for the French Grand Prix, and it was of course used heavily at Magny-Cours for many years, including some of the classic Michael Schumacher performances. That 4-stop victory, of course. But this 5.8 kilometer circuit, very modern circuit, huge runoff areas. You can practically fit an entire country into those runoff areas. But unlike the real racing, you often get exciting racing action here. 2 DRS zones, and on that particularly monster straight, the Mistral straight, which is only split by a small chicane. Expect to see the majority of the overtaking action there between turn 6 and turn 10. Turn 10 in particular, a very thrilling right-hand corner. And it's a 27 lap race here today after the usual 18-minute qualifying. We've had quite a few 30+ lap races recently, so we're back down into the 20s, and we have had the bonus point awarded for the fastest lap recently. So that is starting to creep into the session here. And in terms of the tyre compounds, it is the middle range of Pirelli rubber here today. Will we get more wet weather action as we did last week at Canada? But before we get to that, well, the main story, of course, in terms of the championship so far, is all down to one man with 6 victories. That's 6 from the opening 7 races. It is the reigning and defending champ Tyrell Snitzel, who has now established a 55-point lead at the top of the standings. His closest rival Michael Speedbar and Casper continuing their duel over 3rd place. Dave Frosty's recent form meant he's dropped down the order with our Asnot, and the ever-improving Jim Roy closing in behind him, with RC Golf and Ollie D dropping down, and F Widgers down in P12 at P10 I should say, with 12 points in terms of the constructors situation. Well, it is getting very tight between Williams and Mercedes. Only 21 points now separates the two teams, miles ahead of Toro Rosso and Alfa Romeo, and just as their 2 lead drivers are very close between them for 3rd and 4th. McLaren in a solid 5th, with Red Bull leapfrogging Racing Point into 6th. Renault and Haas not far off them, but Ferrari, they've been improving in terms of point scores. Can they leap above Haas and finally get off the bottom of the constructors standings? That is going to be the biggest mystery here today in terms of this particular event. Well, Andy has made his way to the commentary box. A third of the season gone, Andy, and we are now getting into, you know, the classic F1 track, starting with Paul Ricard. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have to say, although the real life race in 2019 wasn't particularly entertaining, it was, in fact, I think it's safe to say anyone who watches the real sport, it was the dullest race of the 2019 season. But on the game, very different story. A lot of other leagues that I cover, and also AOR, of course, we've had some fantastic action from top to bottom tier in AOR at this track on the last game, and I think we will get the same very much here as well. The 2 DRS zones and the very nature of the circuit keeps the field closely packed together usually. So the one thing, Andy, I have noticed about this particularly track is it is very difficult at times to keep the battery, because there's not many braking zones here to recharge the battery. Oh, really?
And they can't hear a thing of me, so they're not going to be hearing this right now.
Well, let me just restart that service. I think OBS has a little glitch there. I mean, I can see your audio coming through, so I'm just going to restart that service there. It won't affect the stream, ladies and gentlemen, but it will give Andy a chance for his audio to be heard. So I will feed you in shortly. Perfect timing, in fact. VSR Wayne about to start a lap. Paul Ricard, take us away, Andy, for a hot lap.
Hopefully I can be heard on this one here as we head down towards turn number 1, very fast DRS section. Use the curb on the right hand side, down to 4th gear, 100 miles an hour on the way, and flick it through turn number 2. And then up towards turns 3 and 4 towards the end of sector 1. Up to 7th gear again, quickly down to 4th. Grab 3rd gear there to the inside. Pull it back to the left, quickly to the right. Briefly into 1st, down up to 3rd quickly. And then through the curve of turn number 6. Through the slight curve to the left of 7. And now down the Mistral straight as well now. As you say, this used to be one of the longest straights in the calendar until it got completely mullered by this chicane. But here we go, really hard on the brakes, down to 4th gear, 90 miles an hour, into 3rd, back up to 4th quickly, use as much of the curb as you dare on the outside, and then heading up towards turn number 10, Cygnus corner, fast, flat out right-hander, you can see there Wayne keeping it in 7th gear, into turn 11, maximum commitment into the first part of this double apex corner, nice and easy on the way out, up to turn number 12, tricky corner here, you're looking for the apex very, very late to the left hand side there, again using the curb on the outside, up towards turn 14 now. Easy to get that wrong, and you can see there Wayne actually going for pit lane. The last corner, turn 15, very tight, slow on the entry, and you want to get a good exit. You've got DRS down the straight as well, and hopefully everybody heard that.
Yes, everyone, you are back online, and SLR2 sets the fastest time, barely ahead of Alex for the time being. Let's see who else is out there. Michael is out there, he is coming back into pit lane, and of course a feature of the track this year, and indeed in the game, it was patched in, is the new pit entry. I'm sure you've driven it a few times, Andy. Much easier pit entry and much safer, I must say, compared to the old one.
Definitely, I mean, in terms of the previous version, it is much safer for the real life mechanics, because basically last year the Mercedes pit, well, the entry fed straight into their box, so you know, someone messed up pit entry, they were going straight into a bunch of mechanics, which is the last thing we need to be seeing here. So it's definitely a lot safer, a bit trickier. Now comes before the final corner, whereas before it was after the final corner as well, so much better, but it does mean that it's a little bit tighter as well, so you've got to be careful too going through that pit lane as well. Obviously Wayne did decide to abandon that lap, also got an invalidation, using as much of the curbs as he can, but his teammate is on a provisional pole at the moment. Now, we were expecting, if it was going to be dry for the race, a lot of people maybe to set a slower sort of banker lap on the soft tyres, with most people going for the medium or the hard compound tyres when it came to the race. However, although we have some glorious southern French sunshine at the moment, the race itself is going to start in full wet conditions, changing to intermediate, and it is expected to dry up by the end of the race, which means that pit lane is going to be very, very, very busy indeed.
Oh, that's very exciting for the neutral, that is for sure. Now it's going to test to the skill, not only the driving, but also getting the setup of the car right, making it adaptable for the different conditions that we're going to get during the race. Now, that actual fact, Andy, will then eliminate the possibility that people are going to opt for the medium tyres predominantly, because if it had been a full dry race, the soft tyres, as you know, Andy, they go off quite quickly here. So I think we would have seen quite a lot of medium runners in the last run, but I think we'll get a true definition of the pace of these soft tyres at this particular track as a result of it being a wet start.
Yeah, absolutely. And from talking to the drivers, the expecting for most of them would have been to go for a medium compound for qualifying. Pole would have been around about maybe a 130 if that had been the case, but with it being a dry race, I'm now expecting this to turn into a complete and utter shootout later on into the session with a flurry of those red C4 compound tyres. Expect maybe even a low 129 has been the prediction from a few people I've been speaking to. And in terms of wear and drop off, the soft tyres will generally do about 5 to 10 laps, but they will have a bit of a bigger drop off after around 5 laps. The medium tyres are about 1.2 seconds slower on average. They'll do roughly 10 to 15 laps. There's a smaller drop off for them around 10 laps into that stint, and the hard tyres are 1.8 seconds down on the soft compound. They'll do about 20 to 30 laps, so they could cover a full race distance if need be, and there's not expected to be really any issues with wear. But I don't think now, with it being the wet and intermediate conditions for the race, I doubt we're going to see much of the white compound tonight. It's going to be mainly soft compound here for qualifying. I think we might see a few soft compounds later on into the race itself, maybe a few mediums. It all depends on when it dries up enough to put the slicks back on, and that's going to be the key turning point that might just make somebody's race here tonight.
Yes, and just on board with Michael at the moment, who just did a 24.6 in Sector 1. He is on the soft tyres, and this looks like his first true run in anger. Takes a bit of curb as he goes into the Mistral chicane, which splits what was once a monster of a straight. I mean, some categories still do the full straight, but Formula 1 certainly wouldn't be. I mean, they'd be bottoming out long before the end of the straight, and well, you can imagine the tow you'd get from that particular straight. I do love the fast left-hander at turn 10. It's just a fantastic sweeping corner. It's one of the better parts of the track, but let's see what Michael can do. He's heading towards it. Is he going to peel back into the pits? Trying to get a feel for it. It has somewhat felt like a test session so far. Not many laps so far. I think they're trying to get a feel for the track and get the setup all finely tuned, given the difficult start to the race they're going to have. But I think we're going to start seeing some lap times now. Here comes Michael, the season 16 champion. It goes as a line, and it's 4/10 off at the moment, so that may suggest a compromised setup for the mixed conditions that we're going to get during the race.
Yeah, quite possible, and an interesting part as well. Michael doing that lap on the soft compound tyres, 4.428 down, whereas he just ahead of him is his championship rival Schnitzel, just over the 4 mark, and he done that lap time on mediums. So that's an interesting bit. Did Michael just take it a wee bit easier on that lap? Just get a banker on the board just now, get a feel for the track, as you say. Of course, once they leave pit lane, setups are committed. And obviously, with the wet weather coming, it is possible quite a few of these drivers will look towards that to make sure that they are quick through what is expected to be a predominantly wet race, with it drying up towards the end. And you've got to really think about that with Parc Fermé in effect, because once you leave pit lane, there's no changes that you can make really to the setup of the car. So it's a tricky one for the drivers to try and balance out. And I know from my own experiences in, different games, but when you're testing, unless you know the weather in advance, you're usually testing in dry conditions. So has anybody really done any wet weather running?
Yes, I mean, it's not a track. I mean, in real life, Paul Ricard, at the time it has, it's so far there hasn't been a single wet session throughout the 2 Formula 1 weekends we've had since it came back in 2018. But going back to qualifying, 129.435, nearly 4/10 quicker than LR2. The veteran Alex, who's raced probably more alone himself than perhaps at least a quarter of the grid have, compared to some of his younger challengers. But that's a decent time from Alex. Though 29.4, that could be good enough for a top 10 come the final reckoning at the end of qualifying. Just a brief word, Andy, on Stay Frosty. Now, he's had some difficult races recently. He had a pretty solid start to the season, but he's had 3 retirements from the last 4 races, and he looked like he was definitely in the fight in terms of with the likes of Casper, Speed Barry, in terms of the 3rd place fight, which looks pretty interesting at the moment. But he's kind of dropped quite a bit back from those guys recently.
Yeah, he has indeed. I mean, he had a great result where he nearly got on the podium at Catalonia, but since then it's been a bit, he's had unfortunate incidents. He's currently given a tow to his teammate Daniel Alves down the Mistral Straight towards the chicane there. It has been a bit stop-start, but he's had a decent result in the Challenger Series, the Esports Challenger Series as well, where he's qualified for the next round, I do believe also. So, we know the pace is there for a McLaren driver. We know he is definitely capable. He could get himself back up into that fight, but Casper and Speed Barry have been extremely consistent as Blizzard goes into the 28.8s, showing that again, that 1-lap pace there from the Renault driver. Brilliant stuff. Barry goes into second there, but between him, but Speed Barry and Casper, they've been really consistent as well. We were talking just before we came on air, and the fact that we feel, because how Speed Barry's been, that he's possibly even due a victory. Kind of seemed to have Canada maybe a really good chance until he hit the wall and damaged his wing. And you got to feel that Toro Rosso could be in the top step before long. But Frosty's got to get the points back on the board if he wants any hope of sticking with those guys up ahead of him. And I've just realised as well, because nobody heard my intro, it means that me learning a little bit of French went completely to waste. C'est la vie.
Well, yes, there's a bit more French there, and good to know, Andy, that you're a fan of the famous pop group Bewitched with that little line there. And Tyrrell Schnitzel heading through the Mistral chicane. Bit of traffic up ahead, but he's negotiated that in comfortable style. P7 at the moment. That time he set 1.3 seconds off was on the medium compound, heading down towards turn 10. Nice shot, a couple of cars behind him. He sweeps through here. Let's see how committed he is on the brakes. 128.8 from the reigning F2 champion Blizzard. Pretty decent at this stage. Just over 4 minutes of the session here in sunny France. And is there going to be a sacre bleu moment as we had at Canada last week, when we had that surprise pole position last week?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's always possible. We've mentioned before, although we obviously keep towards the front end of the field with the battles going on for the race victories as much as we can, the championship battle, you know, the likes of Schnitzel, Michael, etc. There is a lot of good drivers in this tier, as we've mentioned many a time before. And obviously, although it was a bit of a surprise to see the pole position not be one of the top two last week, it was a very pleasant surprise for that to be the case. It was Danny, if I remember correctly, that stuck it on the pole position as well. He's not here tonight, unfortunately. So anyone is capable on their day. Blizzard up there at the moment, and the word I got was obviously Paul would be on the soft tire, maybe a low 29. So the fact he's in the 28s is brilliant. He's still 3 times quicker than Schnitzel as well, who's set a quicker lap time on the soft compound tyres and is completely cutting the chicane.
He's in a hurry. He's in a hurry to get back to the pits, isn't he?
He's trying to avoid the traffic on the way home. That's what that one is. But we've said that about Blizzard before. You know, he's definitely a quick driver, and one lap pace, he's definitely a very quick driver. He just seems to be having a few issues. He's stringing the results together a bit more consistently in this race, as Schnitzel's making his own track up at the moment. Goodness me, that's a different layout. That adds to the 160 odd that they've already got for sure. But only 2.5 minutes to go. He wants back to pit lane very, very quickly, as you can see, and there's going to be a lot of activity on track very shortly. Michael's got himself out there already. He's on track, and I think he's on a flying lap.
I think Schnitzel is going to be struggling to actually make the lap, and he's going to have to push hard and skip some corners, I think, because that's the only way he's going to make it. And that could be really good news for the likes of Blizzard and Michael. So, I mean, Michael, given his ability, Andy, it's an incredible stat that he has not won a single race since the Mexican Grand Prix of season 16. That was a full 21 race season. So he didn't win at all last season, and he's been so close this season. He's just been thwarted several times by Schnitzel. Australia and of course last week at Canada, where he drove really well, but in the end he just didn't quite manage the battery quite as well as his opponent. And Schnitzel, he knows he hasn't got enough time, and he has called it a day. I mean, he's still in a pretty decent position if he ends up there, but a full wet race with the spray, you'd rather be right at the front, wouldn't you?
Yeah, definitely so. And if you're talking about Michael there, obviously remember he won in China, so he has won this season. He's the only driver that has popped at beating Schnitzel to the line. But yeah, Schnitzel deciding to call it a day in qualifying. Someone in the chat is going, is that allowed? Well, that's one for the stewards to decide on. I'm not too sure on that. I don't know the rule book. Michael's going to be no better than 7th either. Wow. So again, and not the greatest qualifying session from Michael. He's had a few poor ones since Baku, really. I think Spain was a bit of an exception. He seems to be just getting himself a wee bit more in that 4th to 8th position most weeks, so that's not going to help him at all with his spray. Be interested to see if anyone can top Blizzard off of that pole position though. Well,
for the second race in a row, it's going to be a different pole sitter. Although, actually, I believe Speedbarry may have had a pole position this season. I just want to briefly apologise for that fail earlier. I completely forgot Michael won at China. So yeah, completely disregard what I was talking about earlier. So yeah, that's my bad, Michael. I'm very sorry about that. But anyway, we're getting into the closing stages of qualifying here. Tacticians on lap. I think LRR2 actually is going to finish before these guys. He came out quite early. So yeah, Michael's down to P9 now. So Tyrrell Schnitzel, he'll be happy enough even if he drops a few places, because his closest rival in the championship, 55 points behind, he's in P9 at the moment. So let's keep an eye on LRR2 heading through the final sector. I think he's going to be one of the first drivers to finish his particular lap. Very technical sector 3, very easy to outbrake yourself into 13. In particular, the last 2 corners, you have to be so gentle on the steering, because if you get the line wrong, it's very difficult to get around there. Lee Finley finishes the session P10. Here comes LR2 then. What's it going to be? P8 at the moment for the Ferrari driver, and it's P7 ahead of Daniel Alves. But let's have a look at Speedbarry, because Speedbarry, we know his 1 lap pace can be phenomenal at times. Heading for the line then, the Toro Rosso driver. What's it going to be for Speedbarry? P4 at the moment. Can he get onto the front row at least? And yes, he does, but he's still 2/10 off Blizzard's time. Blizzard is heading into the final sector. And at the moment, it's looking very good for the reigning F2 champion. Has he gone for a full drive setup? Well, he won't care if he gets a pole position, because this would be some moment of glory. Only 2 9th place finishes so far this season. Blizzard rounding the final corner then. Is he going to improve on his time? At the moment, a 1:28.811. Crosses the line here at Paul Ricard, and it is no improvement actually at all. Tactician is just about to cross the line, and I think Stay Frosty has moved up to P8, and I think, apart from Tactician, I think that could be it, Andy. Yes, it is.
That's
Tactician
it, yeah.
is in the pit lane.
Yeah, that was an interesting point, if not as well. Roy only getting himself into 11th. Nardi Perez came out of pit lane with 30 seconds left on the clock, purposely and only to tow his teammate down the Mistral straight towards the chicane. That was his only reason for leaving pit lane. Tactician up to 4th. It was a slowdown lap that he was doing there, and that sets your grid with the 15 drivers. Blizzard with what I believe to be, what in fact is his first ever tier 1 pole position. Here in AOR, with a brilliant lap time of a 1:28.8. No one else getting into the 1:28. Speedbarry closest in the 29.034. Schnitzel in 3rd. Tactician 4th, and Michael down the field. He's going to have to come through the spray and through all the mayhem that could happen ahead. This could be fun.
Oh yeah, this is going to be fun. Yeah, nearly 2/10 of a second then. But Speedbarry, he's up there once again. He is hunting for his first win, no doubt about it. He's in P2. Tira Snitz on Tactician with his best qualifying season on row 2. Alex and Casper row 3. Jim Nardi, Perez and Stay Frosty row 4. LR2 and Daniel Alves P9, P10 respectively. Jim Roy and Michael, the champion and runner-up respectively of season 16, only 11th and 12th. VSR Wayne and Lee Finley 13th, 14th, and Hugh Golf making his return after his racing real-life antics last week has come in P15. But maybe he's going to take it easy into turn 1, quite a tight turn 1 at this particular track. So we're just going to have a quick look at some of the action earlier in the Formula 2 Championship. Quite exciting action. But Andy, your impressions of that qualifying session? Another surprise pole sitter, given what we've seen so far this season.
Yeah, definitely a little bit more mixed up. That's going to make it even more interesting with the weather, because it's just came up on my screen. You'll see it very shortly. It is chucking it down. It's a little expression of cats and dogs out there right now. This is going to make it very fun indeed. Blizzard though, great pole time there into the 1:28. Can he finally look at converting that into a decent race performance? He's had some shockers this season. I know he is capable. We've seen it before. Michael though down the field, another poor qualifying session from the Williams driver. Alex up there as well though in P5, although he's saying in the chat he'll probably be P14 by the time they get to turn 5. Give yourself a bit of credit there, Alex, come on my friend. And Hugh Golf down at the back of the field. He was racing the F4s here, I believe it was last weekend, so hopefully his real life experience, if that is the case, will stand him in good stead here tonight. But completely wet start. It's going to be full wets all round, and it's expected to transition at some point into intermediates, and it's expected to dry up before we reach the finish. So keep an eye on pit lane, because it's going to be busier than the M25 ring road on a Friday night.
Absolutely. Well, hopefully everyone gets through safely through turn 1 as Blizzard pulls off the start finish line and leads the field away for the first time this season, with Speedbarry just behind him and the reigning defending champion Tyrrell Snitzel on row 3. I think Snitzel, given how the end of qualifying finished, he didn't have time. I think he would have been pretty delighted to end up in B3, but Tactician, really good qualifying session for the 2 Alfa Romeo drivers, and I think that's another rare occasion where Tactician has out-qualified Casper. Casper undoubtedly has been the star of the Alfa Romeo team so far this season, with 3 podiums, including 2 second places at Baku and Monaco in particular, where he made some stunning moves around the streets of Monte Carlo. But Tactician, he's kind of been finding his feet in F1 recently, Andy, hasn't he? I mean, he had a difficult start to the season where he was kind of in the middle order outside the top 10, but recently 3 points finishes in the last 4 races. So Tactician is beginning to find his feet in this particular tier of AOR.
Yeah, he is indeed, and he's been taking part as well in the Challenger Esports Series as well. He was on for a good result at the round they had a couple of weeks back at Baku, and he made his own mistake, which he admitted to, looking back at the car, closing in a bit too much. But he's definitely picked up a bit of form, he's definitely picked up some speed, and that's only going to be good news for Alfa Romeo. I mean, they're in 4th position at the moment, 4 points behind Toro Rosso in the Constructors' Championship, so that's a heck of a battle that we need to keep an eye on, along with the top 2, Williams and Mercedes. And talking about Toro Rosso, Lee Finlay, because I didn't mention this at the start of the broadcast, you might remember Lee Finlay was involved in an incident back in Monaco with Alex. It took a wee bit longer for the stewards to deal with that one. Well, they did give Lee a 10 penalty points and a 10-second penalty to his race time. It made no difference to the points paying positions on the day, but it did add 10 points to his virtual licence, and obviously if he reaches up to 25, that's a qualifying ban, so that's not going to help the Scotsman if he gets involved in any other incidents between now and the end of the season.
No, you don't want to get to 20 points, especially a long 21 race campaign like this. But here we go then, the grid begins to peel around the final corner and heads towards the start finish line to form the grid then for this 27 lap AOR French Grand Prix here at La Castellet and the Circuit Paul Ricard, and hopefully we will get a spectacular race. And if Andy's weather prediction is right, we will get all 3 different types of tyres used, the wets, intermediates and dry compounds. Be interested to see what dry compound they use. But here we go then, the grid forms up. Blizzard, Speed Barry on row 1 here, and this is going to be a very interesting start here at Paul Ricard. And I think the grid's formed up. We can see the marshal at the back of the track putting out his green flag, and we didn't get any lights for some reason, so no lights on screen. That was strange. But anyway, Blizzard makes a pretty decent start. Actually, Speed Barry did as well. Snitzel, I think, is playing it safe just behind. It's challenging Speed Barry for P2 just behind. It's a perfect start from Blizzard, I have to say. So no indication yet that he's struggling on that full dry setup. Maybe he's generally got this pace, but a sensational start from the Renault driver. Dreamland here. Nardi Perez challenging Tactician for P4 just behind. You can see them going side by side slightly. And look at that a huge dive by Speed Barry from well back. And he's just whacked into the side pods of the Renault driver. That was a slightly ill-advised move by Speed Barry. It didn't really look on, but nonetheless, he has got in front and he has taken the lead. He saw the gap and he certainly went for it. I'm not sure Blizzard will be very amused by that, but Blizzard is down to P2. And right behind, Tactician has been overtaken, but he's trying to come back at Nardi Perez, but no, he's down to P4. Back up to the front then. Let's see if Blizzard can get ahead, and Speed Barry is going off to the distance. Andy, what did you make of that overtake from Speed Barry we just saw?
That was a little bit suspect. Blizzard got a bit mugged there on that one, but we'll need to see if that gets checked later on by the stewards or not. Obviously, if it does, we'll report it when we get any result. Down the field, the 2 Ferraris got together, and Hugolf was facing the wrong way, but it looks like everyone has managed to get through and not lose any front wing, which is a very good start indeed. Wayne is currently not in control of his car. He's dropped out of the session, so that Ferrari will go backwards very, very quickly indeed, and it is ghosting at the moment down in 14th position, but a very clean start considering the tricky conditions. Predominantly a little bit in the background where there was a near bumps and 2 Ferraris getting together. Hugo off the wrong way down, but apart from that, relatively clean further back. But I don't think Blizzard will be too chuffed. Barry won't care right now. He's going to try and disappear and do what he done in Canada in the opening laps while the others are stuck behind. Yeah,
2 Alfa Romeos going side by side into turn 1, and I think Tactician kind of he went on the brakes early into turn 1. I think he kind of let Casper go there, so Tactician dropping. But I tell you what, Andy, the 2 Red Bulls are on the march. 3 places gained for Nardi Perez, 4 gained for Jim Roy on the first lap. Alex losing 4 places, and I think he's just lost another one to Stay Frosty. So Alex, unfortunately, not enjoying life in the heavy wet conditions at the moment. It looks like Blizzard's car is okay from that contact with Speed Barry in lap 1. But yeah, Williams, Jim Roy and Nardi Perez really enjoying these wet conditions so far.
Yeah, definitely so. The Red Bull's looking very, very comfortable at the moment. As you say, jumping up the field. Someone just pointed it out in the chat about Nardi Perez's start as well. Someone that's still not really making up places at the moment is Michael, down in 11th. He started in 12th. He's about to try and maybe sneak up the inside into the chicane on Alex. He's put his nose in there, but the Mercedes has got the inside line for the second part, and no dice on that one, as Alex lost out to the other McLaren, the Daniel Alves, just before the chicane. But Michael's struggling at the moment. The Red Bull Bulls on a charge. Roy's next target is Tactician. Nardi Perez is looking at the championship leader up ahead, who's got the Renault just in front of him. And Frosty picks up the first penalty, and I don't think that'll be the last one, I'll tell you that much.
No, well, they are pretty generous, the runoff areas here. I'm not expecting to see anyone retire in terms of a crash because, you know, if you even if you spin the car full 360, you've got so much room. It's highly unlikely you're going to make contact with anything. You practically have to leave the country to hit a barrier at this particular track. But Jim Roy, all over the back Tactician, who's clearly running a bit more of a dry setup. So that may come. It's good for the Alfa Romeo driver later on, but at the moment struggling just a little bit. Jim Roy right on the back of him, trying to overtake him. We'll keep an eye on Michael as well as he tries to make his progress. Only 1 place gained so far, R2 losing 3 places, so it's not been a good start for Ferrari. Neither Haas driver is here today, so if Ferrari could sneak a few points here today, they could finally get off the roof of the table. They're in the wooden spoon position at the moment, but not able to get there, and a slightly poor exit from Jim Roy, and that's dropped him slightly further back. Although Nardi Perez has now dropped over a second from the top 3, so there is some gap starting to form in the field. Let's have a quick look at Michael as he's all over the back of Alex once again as we go through this very slow technical section to end sector 1. Jim Roy then, is he on the, let's have a look then, he's got to climb through the gears here and then head up halfway on the Mistral straight, and I think he's got a pretty good run, Andy.
Yeah, he does indeed. He's right behind Tactician's got no one to tow him now since he's dropped 2 seconds off his own teammate, but nicely defended into the chicane, keeps the inside line, and he can now just pick his way through turn 9 and hold the line there. But if the Red Bull can get a good exit up towards turn 10, that fast sweeping right-hander, you never know, he's not going to try it through there in the wet, is he? He's alongside, I think he is. He's going for it. Oh, he has indeed. Can he keep it between the white lines? Yes, he can. That's a very nice move in those conditions through that corner. Nicely done from Roy. That's 5 positions gained now from the start of the race, and the Red Bulls are on a charge. Nardi Perez has dropped a little bit to the front 3, who are basically running nose from tail, and a few people in the chat wondering is any damage. Looking at it visually to both Speed Barry and Blizzard after that lap 1 bit of contact, all front wings seems to be intact, so visually at least everything looks a-okay at the moment.
Yes, I mean it looks, I think if that had been in the dry, you're carrying more speed in the dry through that corner, of course, it may have caused some damage for Speed Barry, so I think he was somewhat fortunate he didn't get damage out of that. Schnitzel all over the back of the Renault driver, but you know, Blizzard, he's a very experienced league racer, so he will not be fazed by another driver. He shouldn't be, at least. You know, he won the F2 championship, which is, you know, no mean achievement in itself. It's not the top tier, but it's the tier below, and there are some very fast drivers in that particular tier. So he's going to have to do some real defending here, because Schnitzel, we have seen so many times this season, Andy, how relentless he is when he is hunting down his prey. The one thing you don't want to be is to be hunted by that Mercedes, because it is a relentless charge from him, and he will just keep it going and going. We've seen it last week, how good he is at keeping the battery in check. Michael was down to 20% in that attack in Canada, and Schnitzel had a full battery to work with, and he just picked his moment and he was off into the distance. Same thing he done in Catalonia as well, where he just kind of disappeared off into the distance also after finally getting the move done. So yeah, he needs to keep an eye on things there. But yeah, it was going to be interesting. Obviously, it's still definitely wet conditions at the moment. We are expecting it to dry up towards some point, and it's going to be those crossover points that are going to be the interesting situation. When do they come in for intermediates, and then when it's supposedly going to dry up towards the end, will we need the dry weather tyres, and if so, when do you pit? You want to time it well. People could make a lot of points up here, a lot of positions up in the closing stages of this race. If it had been a dry race, we'd have been talking a one-stop strategy, nice and simple, but not here in the wet. It's going to be a case of how long can you go, and can you get on the right tyre at the right time. Yes, as we were watching Schnitzel and Blizzard, you were talking about those good points, Andy. Blizzard had quite a moment coming out of the exit of turn 10 and 11, and that allowed Schnitzel to get right on the back of him, and now he's dropped 1.6 seconds. So I think Schnitzel, this will be his best opportunity to overtake him, because Blizzard will no longer have effective tow from Speed Barry up ahead. Lee Finley in the pit lane, is that for damage, or is it just trying an early stop for the
intermediates? He's going for. He's taking the early jump on it, so that'll be an interesting one to watch. I'll keep an eye on the Scotsman, see how he does on those tyres. I still think to cut the laps too early for that though.
Well, we'll see. We'll keep an eye on the sector times, and you can see the gap between VSR Wayne and Lee Finley. So if that gap decreases, then that may well be the cutoff for the intermediates. I have to say the spray's not quite what it was. The rain seems less intense now. There is a bit of a line forming, so Lee Finley may not necessarily have pitted at the wrong time, but time will tell. The gap's about stabilised at about 14.3 seconds between the two. Michael's slowly making his way up through the field, up to P9 now. You would have probably hoped for a little bit more progress by now, but you know, Jim Roy, the gap between Casper and Jim Roy is kind of stabilised. Nardi Perez, I have to say, very impressive pace from him. Oh, a 3-second time penalty for Blitz, and once again he slips very wide out of turn 10, just as he did the previous lap, but Schnitzel just wasn't quite close enough to take advantage.
No, just couldn't quite get it done there, and it's not quite possible to get through, but obviously Blizzard now with a penalty will come back to get him later on in the race. The gap not to keep an eye on is not that 13 seconds to Wayne. Remember, Wayne's not in control of that car. He's still ghosting, so that gap will drop like a stone pretty quickly regardless. So it's how quick can he catch up to Hugolf is the one to keep an eye on. So it's about 15 seconds. Oh, there's a Williams, that's Michael. Michael's gone for pit lane along with Roy and Tactician Frosty, so a lot of other drivers are following Lee Finley's decision to go for intermediates. Pit lane's getting very busy now as they come into the pits and go for the green marked intermediate tyres. So we've got 6 cars in pit lane right now, but the leaders have carried on. The top 6 are as you were basically.
Well, Michael's on the end of the pit lane. He'll be hoping he doesn't get held too badly because there's quite a few cars behind him. Oh, he got hold a little bit, probably lost about half a second. Whether that cost him at all. Well, Lee Finley, let's see where Lee Finley is. He sets on the start finish straight now. I don't know if he's going to jump anyone, to be honest. No, it looks like he's Stay Frosty gets past. And Alex. So yeah, Lee Finley definitely gained some time. So that is significant. That is very significant. But none of the top 4 opted to pit. So I'm not sure it's going to make too much difference. But it could be excellent news for Jim Roy, because in his attempt to get ahead of Casper at least.
Yeah, definitely so, because now obviously it would seem with Lee having been down there, he's managed to obviously get ahead of those guys. Frosty especially lost out in that pit lane scuffle, so to speak. So this could be the point. Obviously it'll be interesting to see if any of these top 5 especially decide to pit at the end of this lap. You're looking at around about 20 roughly maybe 20 seconds, 22 seconds from limiter to limiter, I believe. So it is possible for him to get in and get back out ahead of where Wayne's ghost car is just now. I do believe he is still ghosting. I'm just going to have a quick look. Yes, he is indeed, so he's still not in control of that car. So we'll see if they come into pit lane just now, and here they come. Yep, there goes Barry, Blizzard, Schnitzel, Nardi Perez, Casper, so they're all coming in now. So it is now the crossover point with that dry line. Now where does everybody come back out?
Yeah, well, Nardi Perez had a huge moment in sector 3, and Schnitzel, he slid really wide and nearly missed the pit entry completely. Casper's coming in, and I think Schnitzel's going to get held slightly by the Alfa Romeo. So, and Blizzard just gets ahead of the Alfa Romeo. So in terms of lead, will Speed Barry get ahead of all of them? Well, I think he just gets ahead of them. So yeah, the top 3 very close. Nardi Perez in the end didn't lose too much time. Casper's right there, but what about those who did the undercut? Where's Jim Roy? Jim Roy's on the main straight now. Can he get ahead of Casper at least? Out onto the track he goes, and yes, he's going to jump the Alfa Romeo, so he makes the undercut work, switching to those tyres a lap earlier.
Yeah, that's worked out nicely there for him to get ahead of the Alfa Romeo, and it's just managed to work. And now he's got the temperature in those tyres as well, remember too. He now knows where the grip is already. These guys that have just pitted now, this is a bit of an exploratory lap. They've got to get on it straight away, but they don't fully know where the grip is with the shallower wet weather tyre, this intermediate tyre. They need to pick up on that one there. Top 3 have stayed as you were though, with Barry still ahead from Blizzard and Schnitzel, but that's definitely helped the Red Bulls, who are now 4th and 5th. The Alpha's dropping to 6th and 7th. Michael's up to 8th after all of that as well. And Lee Finley, from being the first pitter, is now up to 9th place, but he's going to be attacked very shortly if he's not careful by Daniel Alves, who's got a great slipstream coming down to the chicane. Lee goes defensive and holds the line for now as Nardi Perez picks up his 2nd penalty off the race. That's not going to help him at all at the end. We've got a bit of a train going behind Lee Finley just now, and the McLaren of Daniel Alves is about to go past on the outside up to turn 10. Lee's not going to hold it around there.
Can he
is
get it done?
Oh,
Oh, wow.
that was close.
He held that beautifully. Brilliant move by Daniel Alves, who scored his first points of the season at Canada, of course. And I think even Lee Finley would doff his hat for the bravery of that move in these conditions. But let's go straight back to the front, because Blizzard is right on the back of Speed Burrow, getting these intermediates up to temperature a little bit better than his Toro Rosso rival. And Schnitzel, he's actually seemed to be biding his time a little bit. He's dropped back a little bit from the top two, nearly a second out of range of Blizzard at the moment. Jim Nardi Perez, well, with those penalties, he's probably out of the fight for the podium realistically, unless his rivals ahead of them start picking up penalties himself. And Jim Roy, to a degree, as he has no penalties so far, may well have played himself back into contention for a podium after a relatively poor qualifying for his high standards.
Yeah, definitely. So there's always that possibility. I mean, if you look there at Michael, who's down in 8th position, he pitted a lap before the top guys in the lead. He's now in 8th, harrying all over the back of Tactician, but he's only about 9 seconds off the lead. So it just shows you how powerful getting on the tyres at the right time can be for your overall race time. Michael started outside the top 10, remember. Didn't make up too many places early doors, but he's now starting to try and make his way through. You feel if he can get by Tactician and build a gap, he's then got the chance to settle into a race groove and try and keep going. Blizzard, though, was looking pretty good at the start of that lap. Barry now, just with the temperature into the tyres, maybe just feeling a little bit more comfortable to be able to hold that lead position. And you just feel, though, Schnitzel sitting there in the background, he's like a lion just sitting there. You can see the deer, you can see the gazelle. He's just waiting. When's the right time to pounce? You just feel he's just got that extra bit there just when he needs it. When's that going to be? And keep an eye out as well. When do race control later on in this race, when will they activate DRS? Because that's usually a good sign of when the track's good for drives.
Yes, absolutely. It's going to be a wee while before we get to see any dry action. I think it's going to be at least 5 or 6 laps. The rain is certainly easing off, no question about it. It's going to be interesting to see what tyre they go for. I'd imagine they will try and get away with using the mediums. I don't think there's any point using the hards at this point, as the fastest laps begin to tumble down, as you would expect, and that is always a sign of a drying track. As we're now into the 1 minute 40 freeze, as Michael's still unable to get past the Tactician, who's doing a solid job for Alfa Romeo today, and if anything, it's really hurting Michael's chances of getting back up towards podium, because in terms of out-and-out pace, Tactician doesn't have the pace of the top 6 ahead of him, so Michael's really got to clear this driver as soon as he can. Meanwhile, behind, outside the top 10, Alex is under threat from Stay Frosty and Hugh Golf and LR2. Bit of a mini train there. VSL Wayne disconnected, and I don't believe he's been able to rejoin, so that's a ghost car. So realistically, we have 14 drivers left in the race at the moment, as Hugh Golf picks up a 3-second time limit. And I think as the grip of these tyres will wear off a little bit later. But here comes Michael then. I think this is going to be a slam dunk opportunity for an overtake. Will Tactician put up much of the defence? Doesn't look like he's going to. So Michael, all he has to do is get the braking right, and he will be up to P7. No, in fact, Tactician, brilliant braking on the outside line and maintains the place. That was excellent defending, but he had to take it deep. Michael will continue his pursuit as they head charge down to turn 10, so Michael may have to go for something very daring to get ahead of this Alfa Romeo. He's going to put his foot down to the floor. He's taken more speed than the Alfa Romeo, and can Michael go down the inside at turn 10? He's going to go for it side by side through 10 and 11, but Tactician has brilliant grip on the outside, and he'll have the inside for 12. This is the best battle of the race we've seen so far. Michael going round the outside, Tactician going toe to toe with the season 16 champion, but I think Michael's going to have just a bit more grip and finally gets the move done. That was absolutely fabulous stuff from those two drivers.
Was beautifully done from both of them. Tactician holding on round the outside through 11, getting the grip on the racing line, but Michael then had the outside line, gave him the racing line at the exit of 12, just got the power down, and nicely done. But it was beautiful driving from both of them. Wet conditions can be very tricky sometimes to go side by side, but Michael finally gets the moves done that he needed to get done, as he wants to have any chance of getting further up the field. He's got 5 seconds before he gets up to the other Alfa Romeo, which is of Casper up in 6th place. Let's keep an eye and see if his lap times start to tumble. His best lap at the moment for the Williams is a 45.0, so we'll need to keep an eye and see. The best lap, Schnitzel, last time by 43.9, so Michael's best lap at the moment is 1.1 seconds down on his championship rival. And speaking of his championship rival, he's pretty close to the back of Blizzard one more time as they're coming up through the turn at 9 chicane that completely moors the Mistral straight.
Yes, absolutely. Well, getting over that brilliant battle we saw between Michael and Tactician just now. Yeah, Schnitzel, he's been playing a canny game. I think he's just biding his time until we head to the dry tyres because we know how strong he is. And we're going to go straight down the order because say Frosty threatening Alex then for position. Are we going to see another great battle? But this time he's going to have the inside line. And I think he's going to get this moved on Alex. Alex is going to have to try and brave around the outside to keep this place. Side by side they go. But I think Say Frosty is going to get a decent move done there. Can Hugo follow through down the inside? No, Alex covers the line off very nicely. LR2 very close. There are some great battles going on up and down the field here. Let's go back to the front briefly because Tira says, look how close the top three is. There is not much of a gap. Less than a second covering the top three and less than 2.5 seconds covering the top four. This is going to go all the way, and I think, Andy, it's going to come down to who judges the call to dry tyres.
Yeah, definitely. So it's definitely going to be who judges the timing right to get onto those dry compound tyres, and that's what makes you think Schnitzel's maybe just sitting there just happy just to sit about in the slipstream and just stick with these guys. As Hugo, Alex and R2 having a battle into turn number one. Hugo's gone round the outside of the Mercedes through 1 and 2. Nicely done. Alex loses another position and the Ferrari is coming up behind him and about to take over 13th. A nice battle, and one more time Nardi Perez on his third penalty already. Needs to be careful. He's only not even halfway through the race. He's got 9 seconds that will go on to his time at the end of this race. Meanwhile, Blizzard, he's just bumped into the back of Barry there coming out of the turn 9 chicane. Got a much better run. Look out for Schnitzel now. These three are basically NASCAR drafting nose to tail coming up towards turn 10 into Cygnus. It's going to be follow the leader through here. Does anyone fancy a chance into turn number 11? Blizzard looks to the outside line.
Bumps him again.
He's going to try and switch back. He gives him a wee bump. That's a bit of revenge for lap 1, I'd imagine. And he makes the move done. He pushes him wide, and Blizzard retakes the lead. Schnitzel now to the outside of Barry. He's going to try and switch back. Bumps into Barry again as well, and Blizzard takes the lead off the race. Plenty of action through the field. Now it's happening at the front. Schnitzel up the inside line into turn 14. Squeezes past on the Toro Rosso, and that is 2 places lost for Barry. And well, he'll be back for more very shortly. Look out for Nardi Perez, penalties or not, he's getting in the mix of this as well.
Absolutely. These three lost pretty much well over a second. That's why Nardi Perez is suddenly in the same shot as these three. But yeah, Blizzard muscling his way through. All's fair in love and war, especially what we saw on lap 1. I think he'll be thinking, yep, that's a bit of payback. We're even now, buddy. But Tyrrell Schnitzel now has managed to get through. Unusual place to see an overtake just before the final corner, but he got it done before, which meant Speedbar was not able to dive down the inside battle. But speaking of which, he likes that tight line, Speedbar, doesn't he? But this time Tyrrell Schnitzel, he saw it coming, gave him the room.
Dry weather tyres in pit lane. Lee Finley, Frosty and Hugo for dry weather medium compound tyres. DRS enabled as well. Here we go. Crossover point is hit.
Well, I tell you what, there's still quite a bit of spray on track, but here comes Tyrrell Schnitzel. He's going to go for it. Goes for a move down the inside. I don't like the way the camera cuts off like that. You don't see them for an extra second. But Blizzard, well, he was kind of braking a little bit earlier than Schnitzel. Schnitzel tried to get the inside, but didn't quite have the traction on those tyres to get the job done. But Nardi Perez is right there. But Jim Roy, he'll be slightly frustrated. He can't get a little bit closer to these two to get involved, although he's well within range of his teammate to get 4th place at least. So in terms of the sector times, Andy, is Lee Finley actually gaining any time, and will any of the top 4 pit?
Oh no, he is. He came out 17.5 seconds behind, and in the space of about 4 corners, he's gained nearly a second to about half a second to a second already. It looks like it might just be the right time to do it. I don't see in fact, no, they are coming in. So they're all heading for pit lane. Here we go. Follow the leader into pit lane. Dry weather tyres.
Jim Roy stays out.
Off the day. Oh, Roy is out. Okay, that's an interesting one.
Well, I suppose he had to. Because Nardi Perez, he gets the first call, lead Red Bull. And yeah, medium tyres for everybody, I would expect. So will anyone get jumped? The Renault just getting in front of Schnitzel. The Toro Rosso peeling into the pit lane now. It's going to be a race to get him out in front of the Red Bull. And oh my goodness, that was close. But Nardi Perez just not able to get past the Toro Rosso. And here we go then. Battle is about to commence here. And we're about to find out whether it was the right call. I think I may have just seen DRS enabled, Andy. Did you see that?
It was, yeah, it was enabled. Michael's gone on to hard compound tyres.
That's an interesting call.
Lee Finley's jumped to 2 McLarens at least, so he's right on the back of Tactician. So that has worked out, but he's just picked up a penalty for his troubles as well. So yeah, definitely the right time. They are definitely, although there's still spits of rain, the track has dried out very, very quickly indeed. Roy and Casper carried on, but that's going to drop them into this midfield battle. Michael must be thinking, remember I said earlier on, medium's around about 10 to 15 laps. We've got about 15 to 16 laps left, so he's wanting to make sure those tyres will
Blizzard goes very deep in the middle chicane. Sorry to cut you off, but Schnitzel all over the back of Blizzard. Blizzard maybe hitting a damp patch on the track. Made an absolute meal of that corner. Speed Barry just out of DRS range already, so he's got to get a move on, otherwise these two will get well ahead of him. Schnitzel, will he think about some sort of do or die manoeuvre? With the points gap he's got, he can afford to take some risks and put on a show for these crowd who have been rewarded with some gradual sunshine here at Paul Ricard. The battle for the lead is on. Jim Roy into the pits and Casper will have to follow. It's basically a dry track now. Jim Roy will almost certainly drop probably around 10th or 11th at least, so the call has not worked for him. He may have been better off, to be honest, double stacking behind his teammate. He would probably have lost less time, but Jim Roy won't be out of the fight for points because of some of the penalties some of his rivals are getting. Zero Schnitzel then right on the back of VSR Blizzard, and it's game on now.
Definitely so, game on, and Schnitzel now, this is the moment he was waiting for, obviously. Let's go now and let's push on. He's right onto the back of that Renault. They're dropping the speed barrier a little bit, although he has just gained back a bit of time to get back into DRS range. Nardi Perez is following them through, so Schnitzel's going to try and get a move on. He's got plenty of battery, expect that to go up on Blizzard's going to be a bit of a sitting duck here with DRS. Here we go, down the first part of the Mistral straight, down towards the chicane, gaining all the time. Blizzard goes to the inside, over 207 miles an hour into the braking zone. Your championship leader has taken the lead off the race, and now with that battery, can he do what he's done for the last couple of races and sort of disappear in the distance? There's mayhem behind. I've just noticed there. Oh, contact.
Oh, Roy's contact hit by the McLaren as well. Roy was trying to regain a place, but he's lost even more places there, and that has not worked out for him whatsoever. So that is bad luck. Roy didn't get the right on the tyres, frustrating, and now he's down to P12. And Casper and Roy certainly the big losers of this transition to dry tyres, and that's left Tactician in P5. He's once again ahead of Michael, so I tell you what, I will probably want to switch to them to see another great ding-dong between those two as we saw earlier on. But the top three covered by less than 0.8 of a second. Speed Barry, he's still in this, Andy.
Yeah, he's definitely still in it, and he's just set the fastest lap of the race there as they cross the line. Battles everywhere now because of this transition to the dry weather. I mean, I'm watching Lee Finley against the two McLarens at the moment, but Roy, I just caught it in the background after seeing Schnitzel go through, and I don't know quite what happened. Not the greatest camera angles as Frosty passes Lee Finley into turn number 1, and obviously that's cost him even more places. And speaking of Jim Roy, he had a supporter in the chat who's actually also donated $4.99 to AOR, which was Kitsana. Good luck in your race tonight, and thank you very much for the donation. It's absolutely fantastic that you want to support the community, my friend.
Yes, very, very good work, Kitsana. And yeah, Blizzard right on the back, although he's running a bit low on battery. Schnitzel, as we know, excellent. On my screen, Blizzard has soft tyres, I should say, but that must be a glitch, because in terms of the actual on-screen commentary, everyone's in mediums in the top 5, so I'm sure that's just a little glitch. Because
yeah.
But Blizzard able to keep within a second, but if he runs out of battery, he's going to have to put it in mode 0. Sector 3 is the best part of the track to sort of save battery, because you don't generally get overtaking. There's quite a few braking zones in Sector 3, and a 3-second time penalty for Michael. Not doing so good on the hard tyres so far, and he'll be hoping that he gets a bit of payback for that at the end of the race.
Daniel Alves and Lee Finley have just gone side by side from the exit of turn 9 all the way to turn 12 with pretty much no contact, and the McLarens got the move done. That was fantastic stuff from those two. I should have just cut across you and told you to go jump to it, because that was brilliant from those two, and Daniel's got that move done. But yeah, Michael with that penalty, that's not going to help him later on into this race either. He's in 6th position, which which means that he has gained a good number of positions from his start, and he's up 5 places. Also up 5 places are Lee Finlay and Hugolf as well. They're the biggest gainers in this race. Alex, the biggest loser, down 9 places. He did say in the chat pre-race he'd be P14 by turn 5. Well, it took a wee bit longer than that, but his prediction at least came true, so, you know, you could call him the GOAT for that, I guess.
Yeah, well, you know, if he put money on it, he'd be quite a rich man right now. But Blizzard still right on the back of Snitzel. He's clearly got the race pace to keep up with Snitzel, at least for the time being. We're on lap 16, and there's this AOR French Grand Prix in the F1 tier on PS4. We just saw Stay Frosty overtake Michael. He's on the medium tyre, Michael's on the hard tyre, so Michael has picked up a 3-second time penalty as well. We missed that battle between Alves and Lee Finlay, but I dare not switch away from this battle for the lead unless there's a clear opportunity to do so.
Nearly 3 wide into turn 10, sorry. Lee Finlay, Hugolf and Casper are pretty much going side by side. Lee's lost out big time there, as Daniel Alves has just got past on Michael as well up ahead. So the midfield's where the scraps are going on, to be honest with you right now. Michael side by side trying to get that place back from the McLaren, and he's got it back there, but Casper, Lee Finlay and Hugolf were nearly 3 wide on the run up towards Cygnus at turn 10. I thought it was going to be absolute carnage for a minute there, but they all made it through safely, and Lee's the big loser in that one.
Yeah, absolutely. As Daniel Alves attempts to get past, it wasn't a great qualifying session for the McLaren drivers, but they are really starting to hit their stride in the second half of the race. P6 and PA at the moment, but here comes Alves. Can Alves get past Michael, the season 16 champion? He's got the better tyres at the moment. Oh, and a big lock of the tyres from Michael. And he wasn't able to defend that place, although he'll have DRS shortly, so he'll hopefully try and come back. We'll head straight back to the front though, because Blizzard relentlessly chasing the reigning and defending champion. Get the feeling the battle for lead, something we'll have to give at some point, a lock of a tyre or something like that. Speed Bari looks like he's just saving battery and just biding his time, ready for an assault later on. Jim Nardi Perez 3.2 seconds behind, but he's effectively 12 seconds behind these guys because of the penalties. Got Tactician doing a superb job in P5 at the moment. Save for us in Daniel Alves looking to gain more places. They've shown a bit more pace in Tactician, so I think P6 and P5 and P6 for the McLaren boys may not be out of the question. Casper back into the top 10, and he's right on the back of Hugolf, so I may have a quick look at that actually, just to see if Casper is going to make any move on Hugolf. No, not for the time being. Jim Roy trying to recover positions. He's behind Lee Finlay, who seems to have spent the dry tyres section of this particular race being overtaken so far. But we'll head back to the front now just to see what's going on. Blizzard right on the back again, and he's managing his battery pretty well actually. He's not draining it too badly, and this is an interesting role reversal. Like Schnitzel is not having it his own way. He's having to use up way more battery than he would expect. He's only got a little bit more, and Schnitzel picks up a 3-second time penalty. Oh, that is big. That is huge. That will put him down to P3, and Blizzard, the pressure has paid off, Andy. He has forced a mistake from the reigning defending champion.
You know who this makes good sense for at this exact point in time though is Speed Barry, because Blizzard has a penalty as well.
Oh, he does.
At the moment, Speed Barry, I do believe, I'm going to just quickly check the race director on Barry's side of things. He's only got 1 warning, so at the moment, technically, Speed Barry's in the lead of this race because of penalties. So that's the one who's going to benefit most from this. And Speed Barry, despite having a bit of an altercation earlier on with Blizzard lap 1, and then after the pit stops onto dry weather tyres, where Blizzard finally managed to get a little bit of a cheeky payback into turn 11, he's going to be thanking Blizzard for putting the pressure on, because at the moment, if he just sits where he is and stays that close, he's going to get that win we were talking about pre-race.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, Blizzard has not let Schnitzel out of his sight. Schnitzel got the overtake done very early on when they switched to the dry tyres, but he has been right there in the gearbox of that Mercedes ever since, putting him under pressure, and it has. Oh, and Schnitzel locks the tyres in the final corner. This is probably the first time, perhaps since Bahrain, where we've truly seen Schnitzel put under pressure like this. And Blizzard right on the back of him. Will he think about a move into turn 1? It's not really. I mean, whenever I race here, Andy, I don't tend to go for moves at turn 1, at least not lunges like that, unless it's like an easy DRS overtake, because there's so much risk involved.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you're coming down from 200 miles an hour to 100 miles an hour, but it's still a fast apex into turn number 1. I'm keeping an eye at the moment because Hugolf has done just exactly that on Michael. DRS into turn number 1, nicely done. And the choice of hard compound tyres for Michael is not working because here comes Casper now, up towards turn number 3, side by side through turn 4. He's now going to have the inside line for turn number 5, and your season 16 champion has just lost 2 places in the space of about 3 corners just now, so not working out for Michael. He's now in the final points paying position with a fastly approaching Red Bulled Roy coming up behind him.
This has not worked out well at all for Michael, and as it stands, Schnitzel is going to be taking a huge, an even bigger lead of this championship. But in terms of winning in terms of the championship standings, he won't care a jot about that because he's got a mega job he's got to do to try and hold off Blizzard and Speed Barry, who are giving him the race of his life at the moment. Lap 19 then, this race has flown by, but the action has been absolutely incredible so far. I did secretly expect this to be a good race, but I didn't expect it to be this good as we enter the final third of this particular race. DRS enabled then for VSR Blizzard. Can he get close to the back of Schnitzel? And Schnitzel having to cover off, he's having to go so defensive, and I think Blizzard's got half a chance here, but no, he backs off. And I tell you what, I've seen Blizzard race a lot, not just in AOR, and this is vintage Blizzard. He's doing pretty much what Schnitzel has been known for as well. He is trying to bleed the battery out of his opponent, force a mistake. That's the primary thing, and he's forced one so far. Oh, and they nearly make contact. But yeah, Schnitzel, he is really having pressure put on him today.
Yeah, definitely. So he is really having the pressure put on. Blizzard's now got the DRS as they come down the Mistral side. You can see the Mercedes going to the left-hand side, trying to break the slipstream. He's shut the DRS early there, by the looks of it on my screen. Holds the position for now. Roy has just got past Michael, meaning Michael is now outside of the points and dropping away pretty quickly. Those hard compound tyres not working at all. His only hope now is that these guys on the medium compound tyres are expected to do 10 to 15 laps. We've still got 7 laps to go. Most of them have done about 8 laps on those tyres. So Michael's main hope now is that people maybe have some punctures later on in the race, or the tyres go off the cliff very, very rapidly, because at the moment he's picking up nil points here tonight. And even if Schnitzel's in third or even second, that 55-point gap goes up to nearly 70, or if not more.
Yes, I know. It's just, we saw how strong Michael's pace was last week at Canada, but it's not worked out France at all. And in terms of the strategic calls at the moment, as you've talked about, and it looks like the wrong one at the moment, but Blizzard still right within that DRS range, putting Schnitzel under all sorts of trouble at the moment. Since we're getting a good exit though out of turn 2, able to scamper away for a few moments. And the way they're deploying their battery is almost identical. I mean, you see the light on the back of their car going off almost at the same time. They seem to know the perfect places to deploy and where not to deploy, where to save it. Speed Barry, it's going to be very difficult to overtake him until he finally picks up another turn pad, but it's going to be very difficult for Speed Barry to get past either of these two unless they make a mistake.
Yeah, definitely so. That he's hoping for a mistake or to sit with them and just benefit from the penalty side of things. Obviously, we are all racers. We all want to win on track and not by penalties. But sometimes you just need to be a wee bit more discretional, maybe. And he knows he had a good chance last week in Canada until he hit the wall of champions, which we didn't catch on stream. Found that one out from the chat during the stream. And he may be thinking, you know what? I'm just going to be as close as I can, just sit here, I'll pick up the scraps if it happens, but at the moment I'm in the virtual lead of this race because of penalties, so he's probably quite happy at that one just now. The McLarens are working together to try and catch up to Tactician. Casper's closing in on the 3 of them though pretty quickly, so keep an eye on him towards the end of this race. We know he can pull off an overtaking move or two. Michael has dropped nearly 2 seconds off the back of the points. It's not working out good at all for him, so he's hoping for a divine intervention before the end of the race. Here comes Blizzard down to turn 1. Does he fancy anything? No, not on this occasion he doesn't.
No, I think he's waiting for a golden opportunity. Schnitzel truly is the hunted today. We've seen this in reverse so many times this season where he's been charging at his opponents and then waiting for that killer moment, and then once he gets past he usually disappears off in the distance, but not today. He got past Blizzard, but he's not been able to just go off in distance, although a little bit of a mistake from Blizzard just then, going a little bit deep into turn 6. And now it's going to be, as Michael picks up 3-second time, but then I think he's already got another one, so I think Michael's chances of getting any decent points have probably all but vanished. Jim Nardi-Perez has an 8-second gap to Tactician, so he may only just drop one place, but the trouble is, if he drops any sort of time to Tactician and the others catch Tactician, he may drop as low as 8th place at this rate. But Blizzard then, you know, sticks out his car just to fill the mirrors of the Mercedes driver, just to say, yep, I'm right here, pal. You make any sort of mistake and I am coming through in a hurry. And I love this camera view of the 10 and 11. I haven't seen it before, but it's just a nice sweeping angle. You can see so much of the track. They need more angles like that at some of these tracks. VSR Blizzard then closing in on Schnitzel. Lap 22 then of this French Grand Prix. They're going to be going onto these medium tyres to the end of the race. They may have to save these tyres just a little bit towards the closing stages. But here are Schnitzel holding it. My goodness, Blizzard almost shoving him through the final corner. And now this looks like another opportunity. It's not the longest start-finish straight. Sometimes you just run out of road, even with the DRS and the tow. And once again, opts to stay behind the Mercedes. So it's as you were once again.
Yeah, definitely. So now this is going to be the interesting point now for these guys on the medium compound tyres. As I said in the qualifying part in the pre-race show, the medium compound tyres are 10 to 15 laps, so they're right on the cusp of 15.
Here comes VSR Blizzard down the inside of the Mistral chicane.
And these tyres, not as big as
into the lead of the race he goes, and Schnitzel had no answer to that, but he's going to try and come back at him. Your mic is going a bit weird, but that may not have been caught on the recording. But anyway, Schnitzel right behind him, trying to come back at him, and now he's got a fire on his hands. Blizzard is ahead of him. They've both got the same amount of penalties, so if it stays like this, Speedbarry will win the race, but Blizzard will be P2, Schnitzel will be P3, which I believe will be his lowest finish of the season. Would you believe? He's been at least second every single race this season. At the moment, he's on for P3, but now Schnitzel, we will see what he's made of. He's got plenty of battery to attack with, but Blizzard has managed it absolutely brilliantly. Almost identical battery levels between the two drivers. Jim Nardi-Perez, he's managed to close quite a bit of the gap, but he's still well out of range with those penalties. He's out of the fight for the podium completely. The two McLaren drivers, Daniel Alves and Save Frosty, P6 and P7, they are, eking a little gap lap by lap, like a tenth or two to Tactician. They're not quite in DRS range yet. Casper, though, is in DRS range of the two McLarens. Hugolf in P9, Jim Roy in P10, and Michael, my goodness, he's dropped 3.4 seconds. It has been an utterly miserable race for the Season 16 champion, and he'll have to lick his wounds and come back again at Austria next week, because it has been a race to forget in the sunshine of France today. Look at it, brilliant sunshine now, clear skies above Le Castellet now. But here we go, Schnitzel, lap 24. About 3.5 laps to go then of this thrilling race. As Schnitzel, he's had a real contest today, and not from Michael, as we've seen so many times in the past, but Speedbarry and Blizzard have really pushed him to his limit today. And Schnitzel's going to try and go round the outside of Blizzard into turn 11. What he's trying to do is force Blizzard to go deep into the corner and get the switch back, but no, Blizzard covered that off beautifully. No opportunity for that to happen. But let's just have a quick look down the order, because the two McLarens are closing in on Tactician. 1.4 seconds. Casper is right there, so it's an Alfa Romeo versus McLaren duel we're going to get in the closing laps. As the sun begins to get a little bit lower in the sky, and that may lower the temperatures just a little bit. But my goodness, 3 laps to go, Andy. This has been spectacular so far.
Yeah, it was fine on stream, but your mic was breaking up there for me, so I didn't know what was happening. But I missed out pretty much everything you just said. But yeah, Blizzard doing a good job there. Schnitzel trying his best to try and get this place done. Barry's still just sitting there in that prime position though, and down the field the McLarens, as you say, are just slowly trying to catch up to Tactician. Daniel Alves is going to drop a little bit though. He does have a penalty. Frosty's got 12 seconds worth of penalties, so that's just going to drop off. He might as well be in Monaco at this rate, because of how many he's got. Nordy Perez is going to be another one to drop down, of course, as we say, but got a wee bit of a gap at the moment, but they're starting to just drag them along towards Tactician for that one into his final lap. So we'll need to keep an eye on those at the end. You never know, Frosty's penalties just might still steal Michael a point. Speaking of Frosty, he's drifting his way through the chicane there.
Sorry to cut you off, Schnitzel trying to go round the outside of Blizzard through turn 11 and 12, but Blizzard gets his elbows out and stops Schnitzel's progress, but perfectly fairly. Speedbar is right there. Look how close these three drivers are. It's just absolutely incredible action. Tactician's pace has actually been pretty good. He's kept it to like a 10th lap, and he's actually extended it a little bit. Tactician on for another brilliant result for him. It would actually put him into the top 10 of the championship for the first time this season. The way it's going, been eking the points away. But here comes Schnitzel then, penultimate lap. Blizzard's going to try and cover the inside, but Schnitzel's going to have it. Down the inside they go, but they'll go side by side through turn 1. Blizzard gets the better traction out of the corner and maintains the lead for the time being. Schnitzel will try again. He's got more than enough battery. It's almost as if he's going to save a full 100% attack on the final lap. He's almost got 100% battery. Blizzard has a little bit less. But Schnitzel, my goodness, I thought he had it done, but Blizzard with some absolutely brilliant defending to maintain the lead of the race for the time being. But here we go, Andy, onto the DRS, the Mistral Straight. This is critical moments in this French Grand Prix. Tyrrell Schnitzel once again having a little look. I think he's going to try and save it for the final lap. Yeah, there's definitely something going on with the mics, unfortunately. Good old Discord. But Speedbari has no penalties, I believe, still.
Yeah, he's going to look to the inside line, but he's not going to manage to get it done. I'll tell you what Schnitzel's probably trying to do right now.
We're heading down towards the final sector. And it's going to be a one-lap shootout then for the lead of this race. Tyrrell Schnitzel then, he's going to have one more lap to get this done. Blizzard is going to have to defend for his life here to maintain lead of the race. Maybe Schnitzel will be better off forcing Blizzard to go to a narrow along the inside and then try and get the switch back. Blizzard covers the inside. Schnitzel will try and go around the outside, and yes, that's what he's done. He's forced Blizzard to go a little bit deeper into the corner, but Blizzard maintains the lead for the time being. Blizzard versus Schnitzel for the lead of the race. Speedbari maintains just a slight gap. He will take advantage of any mistakes these two drivers make. Final lap here then at Paul Ricard. Through sector 1 they go. Tyrrell Schnitzel right on the back of Blizzard. And there's going to be one last opportunity for Tyrrell Schnitzel to win this race, and that's surely on the Mistral Straight. Blizzard going defensive with a big weave, but he's perfectly entitled. That's the one move he's allowed to do. But Schnitzel then going to go down the inside, and he's going to take the lead, at least for the time being. Will they go side by side through the following set of corners? Yes, he does. All contact between the two. Oh, they keep going, and yes, Schnitzel will take the lead, but Blizzard's going to try and come back at him. Speedbari right behind him, getting a perfect view of this. Can Blizzard go round the outside of Schnitzel to retake the lead? That's what he's going to have to do, but he gets the switch back. He's going to have a slight opportunity here. Side by side, all slight contact again between them. Blizzard, he's going toe-to-toe in a heavyweight clash here. Schnitzel down to P2 again. Schnitzel Edge is back in front of him, but Blizzard is back in front of him for a second. This is an absolutely incredible battle. Speedbari right behind him. This is going to the final corner. Forget the penalties for a second. Blizzard, can he go down the inside? Yes, he does. He goes very deep, though, into the corner. Schnitzel will take it. Speedbari will get ahead of him. Tyrrell Schnitzel will take it on track, but I think Speedbari is going to win the French Grand Prix on penalties. Oh my goodness, what a last lap that was. Absolutely spectacular action from AOR today. Oh my goodness. What a last lap that was. Speedbari, he's done it. His first win in AOR Tier 1. And well deserved. He kept his nerve and didn't get any penalties. I've lost Andy completely, but I don't think that's his fault. I think it's just Discord, unfortunately. You might not even hear me at all, but you will see the action at least. But wow, wowee. Speedbari, third different winner this season, but that was the race of the season so far, without a shadow of a doubt.
That was brilliant. I hope you can hear me now. That's all I can say. That was amazing stuff, and in the final corner there, just unbelievable. That for me though, I hope for the sake of everything, even through the midfield, I hope Blizzard takes from that and pushes forward. Now we know he's capable of that, and that just proved it once again. Schnitzel put under pressure, but Speed Barry is your victor, the third different victor this season, and fully well deserved in my opinion as well. He's had some fantastic results already this season, and he finally get onto that top step of the podium is absolutely fantastic. So there you go, Speed Barry with no penalties takes the victory from Schnitzel and Blizzard up in the podium for the first time this season in third. Tactician with no penalties takes fourth as Nardi Perez only drops to one place to fifth. Casper took sixth, Daniel Alves seventh, Roy up to eighth, Hugh Golf ninth, R2 taking 10th for Ferrari, Frosty drops down to 11th with 12 seconds of penalties, Michael 12th, Lee Finley 13th, Alex 14th, Wayne dropped out of the session early doors and never got back in control of that car. R2 again with no penalties. That's not the first time he's picked up 10th place because of that, but that was an amazing race. I'd love to stick around for the interviews, but unfortunately I have a plane to catch at the nearby runway. I will see you all next week at the Red Bull Ring, but wow, what an event we've just seen. Till next week, I'll see you soon.
Yes, thank you very much, Andy, for your help as always. I will be conducting the interviews this evening, so just bear with us, ladies and gentlemen. But what a race. Let us know your reaction to the comments. What were your favourite bits? You saw that great battle between Michael and Tactician early on, but then that final lap showdown between the top three, unbelievable. So I'm just sending the invites out for the interviews, so just bear with me for a few moments and I will get that sorted. My goodness, that was absolutely spectacular action. It's a shame we had a few Discord issues today, which was quite annoying, but not much you can do about it. So we're going to get the top three in here, and that is, of course, Speed Barry, Tyrrell Schnitzel, and sorry, I should say Speed Barry, Blizzard, and Tyrrell Schnitzel. But absolutely brilliant action there. There's so many. I'm going to be clipping quite a few of those and sharing those this week, but just brilliant stuff. But yeah, apologies for any mic issues you had. That was due to Discord, but forget about that for a moment. What action we've seen today, and we've got the likes of Austria and Britain and Hockenheim coming up, and if they're half as good as that, we're in for a spectacular European portion of the season. What a way to start our journey through the European heartlands of Formula One. With that was absolutely brilliant. No other word for it. So we're just waiting for a few of for those drivers to come in. And yep, it looks like Speed Barry has joined us, but we're just going to wait for the other two, and then we will get going with the interviews. Actually, in fact, as Speed Barry is the winner of the race, we can start with him as we wait for the other two. So, Speed Barry, if you can unmute your mic, and we will have a quick word with you. You are the winner of the French Grand Prix, your first victory in the top tier of AOR, and what a dramatic way to do it. Your heart must have been racing as you went through the final few corners.
Oh, absolutely. First of all, this isn't Speed Barry. He's still jumping up and about here, but he's very happy, and he'll do interviews later on in the season, but he still doesn't have the confidence to conduct them in English. But he's just jumping up and about. A fantastic race, an absolute nail-biter. It was just, what a race, actually. Even in qualifying, when Blizzard set that time, I was just out. He was just, as in like really, as in like stuffed up. But it was a fantastic race, to be honest.
And if you can just introduce yourself, what's your relation to Speed Barry?
Well, actually, I've been working with Barry since he was probably 10 or 11 years old. In his mentor, to be honest, but not professionally, just as a friend.
That's pretty good. So I'm guessing by that you were sitting with him as he was racing. I mean, when he won the race, I guess his reaction joy, of course, but did he put his head through the ceiling? Such was his adulation at winning this particular race.
Well, to be honest, he was very happy, and yeah, I don't watch with him. We have sort of a device which connects to the living room, and we watch what he's doing on the on the TV living room, to be honest, and also watch the race on the YouTube. And actually, we just told him that Schnitzel had his penalty because Schnitzel was first when he got the penalty and Blizzard was second. So he didn't know, and then from then on, he just drove very conservatively.
Absolutely. Well, I don't know if he said anything else, but is this going to be for Speedbari? Is it going to be a way? He came quite close at Canada, but is this going to be a way? Is this going to be a way for him to push on from here and get more victories, and maybe perhaps not this season, but maybe the following season, challenge for the championship with this sort of speed?
Well, basically that's the idea. We said that the first 5 races was sort of initiation, and we knew that his best tracks will be from Canada onwards. He should have won Canada, to be honest. You mentioned in the chat he got a ridiculous front wing damage on the Wall of Champions, which was not very nice. But let's talk about the race. First lap, the Blizzard in turn 4, I believe, turn 4 entry into turn 5, went very wide, and there was a space there, and he went for it. But as you saw in the YouTube, it was just sort of a very optimistic move. But the space was there, and then thankfully Blizzard didn't get any front wing damage. Then later on in the race, Blizzard actually had some contact coming into senior. And in turn 11, and that's racing. Rubbing is racing, as they say. And and then Schnitzel passed as well, but we had more than enough ER. Is that when they got their penalties, we were actually very, 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 very lucky on the last lap, on the last corner, when Schnitzel and Blizzard had their coming together. Blizzard didn't T-bone Barry into the outside wall. So I actually gave him a bit of a hard word, saying that you had the 3-second penalty and you should have stayed a little bit back. But fantastic drive to all 3 of them, and what a race. Yeah,
that's really good insight from you on that. So that'll be a race we'll be watching over and over again, that's for sure. I'm just trying to get Blizzard in here. We're having a few issues because I don't think he's been into before. I just saw Hoffman just now. He was here just for a second. Now he's gone again, and here he is. So your second place driver and extending his championship lead. It's not a win today, Dom, but Tyrrell Schnitzel machine rolls on with another P2 finish. That's your 8 races, and you haven't finished lower than second. So given how intense that race was, you must have enjoyed that, and not a bad result to come away with a top 2 finish.
Well, first of all, can you hear me? Because I seem to have a little bit of connection issues. Yeah. First of all, congrats to Barry on his first win. Just kept it clean all race long. Really good drive. Really just clean race. To Blizzard as well. Like that last lap battle, which we may come to in a minute, was just something else. And yeah, to be honest, I was coming into this race, I was gonna be happy with a top 5, because it was my first lap since season 16 on this track, like 2 hours before the race. And yeah, it was quite fun actually, nevertheless, to have I guess it kind of helped me that we had a wet start and that no one really was too prepared for the conditions, I would assume, me included, and just have to learn the track, or not learn the track itself, but just find the rhythm without making a mistake. I did in the end get the penalty, which was completely my fault, which was a bit unnecessary, but yeah, it was just I'm happy to still have come away with decent points and was extended.
Yeah, well, you have quite the lead in the championship now, Dom, so you must be looking at this as a dream situation. You've got a huge gap now, over 70 points to your nearest championship rival. Could you have expected it to have gone any better than it has so far?
And I mean, thus far this season, my target, as it was pretty much last season, was to be as consistent as I possibly can. Just first and foremost, finish the races and take away the points. And well, that approach in itself actually enabled me to take away all these good results, I guess, because the pace seemingly is good enough. And if the pace is there, then you don't have to do any extra wonders, which is a tough lesson I had to learn coming from season 16 to 17, to just finish the races, not make any mistakes, and put yourself in the position near the end of the race when it actually counts. So yeah, that was pretty much my mindset all season long thus far, and I look to continue that mindset coming into the rest of the season.
Yes, for whatever reason we're not able to get Blizzard into this interview, but I'm hoping to get a few words to mention on the stream from him in a few moments. But let's just look ahead. Next week is the round 9 of the season, and it will be Austria, which of course is a short, fast and furious circuit, and given the 3 DRS zones, extremely difficult to get out of that second window. So starting with you, Speed Bari, your thoughts, well, any thoughts on Austria that you can share from your clients? Just to joke a little bit on that. Assuming you're still here, we'll give you a few seconds.
Sorry, were you talking to us? I'm really sorry.
Yes, I was.
I apologize. I just got the last got whiff of the last bit because we were watching the last lap, last turn with Barry. So I apologize. Can you repeat that so we could just respond?
Yeah, brilliant. And Dom, your thoughts on your thoughts on Austria?
I think he asked you to repeat the question so he can answer it.
Oh, okay. It's like a short view back to the past. I'm joking.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. So to you, Speed Barry.
This is actually Barry.
Barry. Okay.
Yeah, this is actually me.
I'm doing the Italian pronunciation of it.
It's a nice track.
So Austria next week. Any thoughts on that?
Austria, absolutely. I think we will see some like DRS train actually, and I think the DRS is really powerful there. But I hope I can do something again. I'm just really happy right now. This is actually my first win.
Yeah, you got to be absolutely delighted with that, and it was so well deserved as well. I mean, when you look back on the stream, you'll see what a titanic battle was. Well, we haven't.
Yeah, that was Schnitzel and Blizzard just doing really just overtake and then just overtake. I was watching, to be honest, but when they just told me Schnitzel has got a penalty as well, I just tell myself you should be really smooth. Don't get penalty. You can do it. But yeah, it's quite nice.
Yeah, and well, we're not going to get any word from Blizzard, I don't think. Oh no, here we go. He just sent me a little message. So Blizzard, he said, I did not expect that after my previous finishes. It felt really good to be able to keep up with one of the best, and he'll be looking to build on that and gradually move himself up the championship table. I think that's what he would be saying. So thanks for that, Blizzard, and hopefully if you're on the podium again, we can get you in. Maybe we'll test it, try and get it working before like a race weekend, just in case. So I'll arrange that with you at some point. So, well, that's it for our interview. So thank you very much to Speedbar and Dom for joining us. A big congratulations to the top 3 for putting on an epic race. I think you'll agree, the best race of the season so far. So as I mentioned, we will be going to Austria next week, following up that with Britain before we have a small break before we head to Hockenheim. So the European action of this particular season will continue to come thick and fast, and I hope you're there to join us next week. Thanks for watching, and see you next time on AOR.